Welcome to the Personal CFO. Today we're going to be talking about recent news that Apple, huge company, is now worth more than the entire Russell 2000 index. So for those that don't know, the Russell 2000 index is when you think about the S&P 500 being large cap or large companies, the Russell 2000 is the 2,000 small companies that are publicly traded. Now these, when you say small, these are not, mom and pop next door. These are companies with hundreds of millions of dollars in market cap and revenue. However, compared to something like Apple, they are relatively small. Now, Apple being larger than the Russell 2000 is a pretty big deal. This doesn't really happen very often where one publicly traded company becomes larger than 2,000 publicly traded companies. But I think it's worth thinking about when you look at your investment portfolio and say, what do I own, and does this make sense for me? Whatever your bet about the future is going to be, because that's essentially what we're doing, is this something that I'm aware of, and do I understand it? And so a couple of things to be thinking about when you're saying, would you rather own Apple or would you rather own the Russell 2000? Well, one thing is just diversification. So Apple is one company. Anything can happen to one company. Granted, it is Apple. I use an iPhone. I use a Mac. However, anything can happen to one company. History gives us that as a guide. Versus the Russell 2000, you have 2,000 companies. Another is, what are we paying for the valuations of these companies? What are we paying for their future cash flows? And I think this is pretty important because currently, right now, we're in Q2, or the second quarter of 2023, Apple is trading at about 30 times earnings, or for every dollar in earnings, you pay about $30 for a share of stock. The Russell 2000 is trading around 11. So for these 2,000 companies, a diversified portfolio, you're paying about $11 per dollar in earnings. So Apple is almost 3 times as expensive for each dollar in earnings. And with the Russell 2000, you have the potential of 2,000 different companies potentially being the next Apple. Now, I'm not saying you should own Apple or you should own the Russell 2000, but I think it's an interesting comparison to say, which would we pick? Do we like David? Do we like Goliath in this battle? What makes more sense for our portfolio, but more importantly, just making long-term informed decisions. I hope you found this helpful, and as always, thanks for investing your time with the Personal CFO.